Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing another one of those kind of steal my story but make it into more like a sentence, just because due to a lack of time I just bam 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 I can put those down and talk about them and expand upon them as we go. I am so sorry for the background mess. I'm still getting things organized, but was able to move around a lot of stuff. I'll be talking about that more in my productivity and day in the life vlogs. So, but yeah, without further ado, let's jump into this video and get started right after this drink. So the three topics today I wanted to expand upon. Also, before I forget, if you hear that noise, it's from the treadmill. I'm getting in my steps today, so can't remember if I talked about that already. It has been a day. But anyway, let's get into this. So for the first sentence, I have a man falls asleep at the wheel, leading to a terrifying discovery as his car barrels forward out of control. So this could go in so many different ways again. And this, I know a lot of these I tend to lean more into like the horror or like suspense thriller kind of genre, but I do like to also talk about other directions they can go in as well and show that you just have a sentence or a paragraph of something, you can expand upon it in any direction that you choose. So we have first one. A man falls asleep at the wheel, leading to a terrifying discovery as his car barrels forward out of control. So it could be several things. It could be that maybe the man is narcoleptic, right? He's driving home late at night. So we're gonna paint a picture. He's driving back home, he's narcoleptic, and he falls asleep at the wheel, which very, very scary. As he is, he wakes back up abruptly and the car's out of control and he's going down a ravine. And what happens is he hits a tree. He ends up being fine, but his car is just not in the best of shape. And maybe as he crawls out of the car, he discovers like a body. And from there, he's like, oh my gosh, he's trying to call for help. He can't get help because he's out in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't get a signal. He doesn't know who killed this person. And so from there, he maybe is trying to decide, what does he do now? Does he go back to the road? And then he hears something like somebody's coming towards him. So he hides, and that's when somebody, maybe it was the killer, maybe somebody else, appears on the scene. So right there, the build up to the story, just from that one sentence could show, all these different things were kind of happening in sequence, right? So we have it where he's driving back home late at night, he falls asleep, he loses control of the car, and then there is a body, and then another person enters into the story. So a lot of ways that this could be expanded upon to in a different direction. So let's take it in a completely new direction. So let's say that the man falls asleep at the wheel and he ends up pulling off the side of the road. He's falling asleep. Maybe he is a truck driver, or he's a truck driver, or maybe he is coming back home from a long work trip. But whatever the reason, he pulls off to the side of the road and is like, well, I'm going to take a phone call here. I'm going to FaceTime with my wife. So he pulls off, he FaceTimes with his wife, and he can't get a hold of her. Tries and tries. So he ends up calling over to like her sister or brother, however you want to do this. It could even be maybe it's a woman coming back home from a work vacation or calling her husband or vice versa. I just used a man to kind of just paint the picture using that for right now. So, but you can take it whatever, to spin it in however direction you want is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, back onto the story. So he calls over to her sister, who's neighbors, and is like, why isn't my wife picking up? What's going on? Did something happen that's really unlike her? So the sister's like, okay, FaceTiming. We're going to go over there and see. And that's when the sister knocks on the door and she hears noises. And then she goes over to the window, she looks inside, and she didn't know that the phone, that was turned so that way the husband could see, but like the woman's having an affair. Or maybe the man's having an affair, whatever, man or woman decide to choose is having an affair. Now that would be a terrifying discovery. So could take it in a direction like that. Or like the first story where he loses control of the car in their body. There's a lot of different things how we can warp this into a full-blown story of 200, 300 pages long. So there we go. So on to the next line here. So we have a woman discovers she has a horrible disease and only so long to live, but there's a catch. She might also be many others' salvation. Discovers she has this horrible disease and only so long to live. However, let's say this. There's this new experimental drug out that might save her. So she has to make a decision. So there's an experimental drug out there that might save her. And the possibility now they're finding is like it's a 50-50% chance. However, if she dies, they might be able to extract, let's say, stuff in her brain that can save a lot of other people from a different horrible disease, or maybe the same disease, however you want to write that in there. And so she has to make the choice if she tries to live for the good of herself or let the disease kill her so she might be able to help many others. And this woman has to decide does she deem herself valuable enough to keep going, and can she condemn these other people? So, but there's also, again, I'm using specific words. Something like this is where I think specific words are so powerful. So we have on here, but there is a catch, and I also put in here, she might and may. So there's no guarantee on both sides, which I find very interesting when stories do this, is when they make you think about if a character's morals dictate that, yeah, maybe it's better for the many, but there's no guarantee, so what's the point? Ones that make you question what's right, what's wrong, and where's the gray area. I feel like just looking at this sentence, right, we could expand upon it in so many different ways and really build off of that could or couldn't be, maybe or should. And yeah, this is one of those we can really expand upon. And I always think about, for example, this reminds me a lot of that video game The Last of Us. And I know there's a TV show. I've never seen the TV show, but I played the game back in 2013, 2014 when it was new on the PS3. And one of the choices they had at the end was whether or not to save Ellie or not. I mean, of course I saved her. Goodness, I'm not heartless. But it reminds me kind of that, where, the good of one versus the needs of the many, and where's the line drawn. Love those kind of books. I love to see it in dystopian novels. I love to see an apocalyptic novel, horror, any kind of novel. It just where it gets you thinking and it asks those tough questions. So that's how I look at that sentence. Building off of it, who is she? Can we relate to her? What is her dilemmas? What are some things happening? What kind of things does she have to live with the disease she currently has now that maybe make her go, okay, I would, maybe it's better if I just let go and not go through pain, or some of these other things, like just really diving into what this woman is going through. What is the horrible disease? Why is it so bad? How long do they think she has to live? Or are the doctors in on it and they can make a lot of money off of her, and maybe they're just not telling her that the chances are really good that she'll live? Does that sound to this experimental drug that they're trying to maybe force her into doing? Or maybe they're looking to make a lot of money off of this. Or maybe they're doctors on two spectrums. Maybe you have the doctors who want to save her with this drug and the doctors who want to operate and take the stuff out of her brain. And, they're kind of like against each other. So do two sides there. Let's see. She might also be other salvation. Who are these other people? What, maybe a little bit of story into their lives, what they're going through, that they might not live. So there's all these things to build. Just looking at this one sentence, these words, these specific, like I'm picking out these specific words in here, right? So we have might be many others salvation. So sometimes just taking a sentence, putting it at the top of your story, you can go back and look at those specific words and just build off of them, right? So let's say the woman, and then you have the disease and stuff you can expand upon. The what, why, how, the how. So all of those things with, just building off of that just from that one sentence. So yeah, I hope that that definitely helps you a little bit with, talking about really difficult topics. I mean, there's so many things you can do with that, but I feel like it could really be a story with a powerful message as well. So for my final sentence here, we're going to have: a woman uses the restroom at a local gas station to discover the least of her worries is dirty floors and unflushed toilets. Ooh. Okay. This reminds me of when I watched the news about a year or so ago, and they had like a string of people putting cameras in the restroom. We need somebody to write like a novel about just, I mean, it could be even the harassment that women have had to go through with having to worry about, is there a camera in the bathroom? And it predominantly, it is targeting, I believe they said I think it was targeting mostly women. So that would be an interesting story. But yeah, woman uses the restroom. I'm gonna stay on topic here because I could really go into this. But okay, a woman uses the restroom at a local gas station. So for here we have, maybe the woman is coming back from a vacation. Maybe she was visiting family. There's so many things we could expand upon. Maybe she's coming back from a concert or just something. So of course, want to expand upon who she is, why she's on the road. And then you have, she stopped to use the restroom at a local gas station. Maybe she stopped for food, gas, all of that. When you're kind of on the road and you stop, and then you kind of have no choice but to use the gas station that's really scary. And that's kind of maybe where she's at. She's like, oh golly, I want to stop here, but I have to. And I really have to use the bathroom. Otherwise, it's going to be me pulling over on the side of the road and using the ditch, which I wouldn't want to do unless I absolutely had to. I wouldn't. But she stops off at this really sketchy gas station, and when she goes in there, she discovers that, yeah, the floors are dirty, the toilets are unflushed. It's just really gross in these stalls. Like, and this is another thing too. Is the gas station bathroom on the outside of the gas station? You have to get a key and you have to go outside, or is it inside the gas station? So like, when you go in and you have to go to the back and push open the door, and there's like a bunch of stalls. So maybe let's take it from both angles. So let's say she goes in there, she needs the key, and she talks to this guy, and he's just really like, he's an oddball. So then she takes the key from him, and she's like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. She goes around the side, and she uses the restroom, and everything seems to be okay. And then she goes back and realizes that like he's gone, and that she can't find him anywhere. The lights are all on, but there's nobody. He's not at the front. There's nobody there. So then she ultimately is like, okay, this is weird. So she goes outside to start up her vehicle. Her vehicle won't start. Can't find him. He's gone. She's there all alone. Can't get a signal. She tries their main landline there, and she calls over, and nobody's picking up. She's trying a few different people, and yeah, it's not working. Finally, she's like, okay, something's really wrong here. And yeah, from there could go in so many different directions. Another way, which I just talked about earlier, would be maybe somebody puts a camera in the restroom, and the person using the restroom discovers it. So they go up to the front, they report it. It just ends up going really bad from there. Whoever it was that was watching, maybe the person had like their lanyard or maybe like their stuff showing, and they got their name and their information and was like hunting them down. Again, you can go in so many different directions with this. I mean, it could even be like a suspense thriller, like a romance even. Maybe she pulls off and there's like this, the gas station's maybe packed. She meets this really good looking guy and they hit it off really well. And then she uses the bathroom or whatever. She ends up getting in her car, takes off down the road, and then the guy she breaks down. And then the guy that was at the gas station, really good looking, where they hit it off, stops and is like, I'll help you. And she's like, I'm not sure at first, stranger danger. But then he helps her, and then they end up going through an entire night of, let's say, just everything, like one bad thing after another. Like maybe his car ends up breaking down too, or maybe they end up stopping off at he was trying to find like an Airbnb and then ended up getting like some weird address and then ends up out in the middle of nowhere, and then they're both like, what do we do now? And there's just a lot of things you can expand upon. So, but yeah, there we go. Those are the 3 sentences. Hopefully it inspired you in some way and it'll help you in your writing endeavors. Please leave a comment below if you want me to talk about any certain stories. Maybe you have a sentence you want to share, or a paragraph, or your own story, or just something that you think maybe I should talk about. Feel free to comment below. I'm always looking for examples and suggestions, and I also love answering questions. So yeah, please let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this video right now, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye for now.